Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Good morning to you. So let's just go ahead and jump into it, man. There's so much going on in boxing. I've been busy all week, but I decided to take some time out today. And let me turn this down real quick. Talk a little bit about what's going on out here in the sport of boxing. Kind of catch you guys up on some stuff, and also talk about some things that have gotten my attention too. So let's just go ahead and talk about this whole thing when it comes to pay-per-view stars in boxing. Now I wanna make sure if this is your first time watching the channel that you go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button, but more importantly, understand I'm not a bandwagonist. I'm not a guy who's here and just looking at Gervonta Davis or looking at Tyson Fury or looking at Canelo, and because I like them as fighters, I'm going to sit here and get behind just one and allow myself to be blind to the facts when it comes to pay-per-view. Now, first, let's talk about Canelo, right? Canelo's been performing at the highest level when it comes to pay-per-view numbers for quite some time, all right? It really doesn't even matter the price point for his pay-per-view events. Canelo has proven that irregardless of the price point, people are going to come out, they're going to support his events. Now, I'm going to tell you, when it comes to Canelo, he has fans from all over the world, but in particular, he has an entire country that goes crazy over him, especially when he fights. And you got to understand, a guy like Canelo, he's earned his position in boxing, and he's earned the support of fans. He has a fan-friendly style of fighting. He's not a guy in there who's looking to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He's more about cutting the ring off, coming forward, being aggressive. You know who else used to do that very effectively and stress opponents out? I was watching him last night. It's George Foreman. He doesn't get a lot of credit for him being able to cut the ring off and stalk his opponents and just kind of plod along and let shots go. Canelo has a very, very, very similar style in regards to his offense. Now, when you look at Canelo going over to the zone and the type of money he's been making, and you look at his last couple of performances, there's a lot of concern about Canelo Alvarez as far as his shelf life and what he has left in the gas tank and what does he have left to give to the sport of boxing. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I truly understand the concerns when it comes to Canelo. Okay? You look at him against Bivol, what that fight told me, and when I looked at the CompuBox stats, is if someone is a volume puncher and they're letting their hands go, right? They can control the distance. They can discourage Canelo from throwing punches. And when you look at the punch stats where Canelo fought Bivol, Canelo's punch output and his punches landed were significantly less than what you saw when he recently fought Ryder. Now, as far as that fight with Canelo and Ryder, I mean, there's really is no comparison between Bivol and Ryder, okay? Let's forget about the weight, just skill set. Bivol comes from that Russian amateur program. He's cut from the same cloth as Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko, Povetkin, Bivol, Bertabiev. Those guys are from a different cloth, a different world, a different school of boxing. So we can't compare them to Ryder. But nonetheless, Canelo against Ryder, you saw his punch output was a lot more than what it was against Bivol, and his punches landed were a lot more than it was against Bivol. But there's a reason for that. It's because of who he was fighting. So I honestly feel that some people can get a false sense of comfort in thinking, okay, Canelo's back. Let me tell you something. Canelo's not back. Canelo is a guy who's out here he's not quite a gatekeeper. He still has the defense. He has extremely heavy hands, and he still has excuse me, good timing. But he slipped a little bit. Canelo has slipped a little bit. And with him going forward, I just read an article just this morning talking about Canelo Alvarez, and Eddie Hearn was chiming in on it. And this is how you know they won't come out and tell you that about the talks they're having behind the scenes in regards to Canelo's performance, as far as if he looks like he's just missing a step. They'll never come out and disclose those specific detailed conversations, right? That's just something they're not going to do. But when you see these articles come out, right, and they'll talk about things in a roundabout way, like saying there's a chance Canelo may not fight Dimitri Bivol because we may not be able to get Dimitri Bivol. Now, let me tell you something. Dimitri Bivol, where is he going? Okay, he can't get the fight he wants. Bivol wants to fight Bertabiev. The WBC is blocking that, and they're pushing Bivol towards Canelo. Now, what I'm telling you is a fact. That's what they're doing. That's not me making anything up here. They're trying to push Bivol towards Canelo because they don't want him to pick up a WBC belt at 175. They're basically blocking him from becoming undisputed. So then now, at 168, they were going to basically try to weight drain Bivol, but I think Bivol could have made 168 and beat Canelo at 168 and take those straps. So then they took. I'm just sitting here now and trying to do a kind of analysis on what's going on. In my opinion, they looked at that decision of having Bivol fight Canelo at 168 as a horrible decision. Because what if they're not able to weight train him, right? And Bivol comes down to 168 and he ends up weight bullying Canelo and beats Canelo even more decisively and possibly knocks him down. I'm not going to say he'll stop him because Canelo, to stop Canelo, man, you gotta bring something special to the ring. But he may be able to knock him down. Canelo's never been knocked down. And I think that's when they said, you know what? Forget all this. Let's push for the fight at 175. And I really feel, I'm telling you right now, this is my opinion. Nobody said this. I honestly feel they're pushing Canelo to fight Bivol at 175. So Canelo can make the fight a bit closer because he can't. Look, this is boxing. Anything can happen. But come on, people. Canelo Alvarez beating Dimitri Bivol. To that, I got to say, if you believe that can happen, to hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Canelo Alvarez is not going to beat Bivol, okay? You look at the way the first fight went, I just can't see it going any other way. If anything, I see Bivol fight with even more confidence and control the range even better and just really outwork Canelo. And the thing about it is Bivol's been out the ring for a while, so his body is rested and he's ready to go. Canelo's been active, but the thing is Canelo has taken, in that Ryder fight, he took a lot of unnecessary shots. And I'm going to tell you it's because his reaction time isn't quite there. But that being said, I believe they're putting him up with Bivol because they want him to just try to make the fight a little more competitive. And I would not be surprised if they try to jerk Bivol on the scorecards. Okay? I'm just telling you right now, if you look at Canelo, when it comes to him and fights going to a decision, Canelo always, in some judges' eye, if he doesn't get the decision, in some judges' eye, even in fights that are close or that he loses, right? Some judge is going to see him winning the fight. And that's scary. So the way I see it is they're going to put him up there to fight Bivol, pray that he makes the fight closer, okay? They're going to pray that he makes the fight closer. He's going to win on a decision, right? He's going to take that, what is it, the WBO strap that Bivol has? And then they're going to line it up for him to fight Bertabiev. Now, let me tell you the uniqueness of that 175-pound undisputed distinction between Canelo and Bertabiev. If it goes that route, which is the direction, and this is just my opinion, right? We're just having a conversation. I'm not going to sit here and not talk about the things that I have an idea about or belief in. I truly believe that's the direction they wanted to go. But the uniqueness about that bout, let me tell you, is they're going to try to make that fight in Saudi Arabia. I'm telling you they're going to try to make that fight in Saudi. Now, we're going to sit here and watch and see how things unfold over the next year and a half. But I am 95% sure it's going to play out that way. Now, for those of you saying, man, why the hell would Canelo go to the Middle East and fight? Well, I'm going to tell you this. Canelo has been on the zone for quite some time, working with Eddie Hearn for quite some time, right? Eddie Hearn likes to do business where? All over the world. But where's the big money at right now? It's out there in Saudi, right? Canelo's, they still haven't disclosed his pay-per-view numbers for the Ryder fight, which I don't think they did very good. Now, if for some reason Canelo now, because before it didn't matter who Canelo fought, he was going to do very good pay-per-view numbers. But we haven't got the report on those pay-per-view numbers for Canelo versus Ryder. My belief is we may not get it because those numbers weren't very impressive. As a result, they got to say, okay, this man has guarantees. We have to pay him, but we can't afford to go into the red paying Canelo. We need to make sure we can pay him, but we can still make a profit. So if they can't do it in Mexico, if they can't do it in the States, where can they go where they know for a fact they pay flat fees out there, and the flat fee they're willing to pay for a Canelo bout will be more than what Canelo would make with a guarantee from Eddie Hearn, from Matchroom and DAZN, with pay-per-view on top and the live gate and sponsorship and endorsements. Got to go to Saudi Arabia. Hey, what's up, Matthew Bishop? How you doing, man? Same to you, man. Make sure you have a great weekend too, man. Make sure. So I think they're going to head over to Saudi Arabia. Now, as far as the conversation about Eddie Hearn, Canelo Alvarez, and him not fighting Bivol, let me tell you something, man. And hey, Matt, Eddie Hearn is now saying that Canelo Alvarez can jump ship to another outfit, right? Because he says there are extremely lofty requests from Canelo Alvarez. Now, and this is where it gets interesting. Now, all of a sudden, they're talking about Canelo Alvarez and how he's always operated as a free agent, but he's preferred to work with Eddie Hearn. But this right here, to me, is a preemptive strike, where Eddie Hearn is trying to set it up for Canelo Alvarez and him to part ways because of what I just mentioned. So that's why he said if he cannot deliver on Canelo Alvarez's lofty requests. So it looks to me like Eddie Hearn is ready to try to get him to Saudi or go ahead and part ways with Canelo. And the thing about it is Canelo prefers to work with Matchroom. But if Eddie Hearn can't meet his needs, Canelo may try to go somewhere else. But where else can Canelo go to make the kind of money he was making with Matchroom and DAZN? See, that's the question. Now I'm going to tell you, he can't go anywhere. No one's going to pay him that kind of money. But Hearn made it clear that Alvarez is willing to entertain other offers. You know, if Eddie Hearn can't come to terms with Bivol or a similarly appealing fight. And those right there are red flags to me, man. Very red flags. Now, we know Bivol, although he's kind of being forced into a fight with Alvarez at 175, if he chooses to take it. But Bivol was saying, look, let's go ahead and fight at 168 for those belts. And Bivol has a WBA belt. But that's not something that they want to do. So now they're trying to plan the fight in September for 175 pounds. And I'm going to let you know right now, there's a chance that fight won't happen because Bivol's not slow. Bivol's not chasing money. Bivol's chasing legacy. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to sit here and do something he truly doesn't want to do. But that puts Eddie Hearn in a bad spot because now if he can't get Bivol, then he got to figure out something for Canelo. And I'll tell you what, with Canelo, if there's no Bivol, Canelo's got to look at 168. He's got to look at Benavidez. He's got to look at Morrell. He's got to look at Andre, possibly a Jamal Charlo. Canelo is in a bad spot. So we'll see what Eddie Hearn comes up with. Because we know in the case of a guy like Canelo, you're not necessarily fighting your typical boxer, you know what I'm saying? You're fighting a superstar. And we're just going to have to wait and see what comes to fruition when it comes to Canelo Alvarez if Eddie Hearn can't deliver on the Bivol fight. And that's going to be very, very interesting. I'm going to tell you right now. Will he leave Matchroom? I don't know. But what we do know is previously in 2021, he left Matchroom to work with PBC to try to get that unification bout with Caleb Plant. Then he returned back to Matchroom. So Alvarez isn't opposed to pulling chalks and moving around. But what I will tell you is if Eddie Hearn can't make this fight with Bivol, you may see Alvarez go back over to PBC. And you may see him trying to make the Benavidez and Morrell fight. I don't think Alvarez is afraid of anybody. But I can see him going over there and fighting those guys, Morrell, Benavidez, and, maybe even catching Jamal Charlo, especially if Canelo Alvarez is smart, he'll call out Jamal Charlo right now. That's what he should do. And see if Jamal Charlo takes the bait. Because Jamal Charlo and Canelo Alvarez's resume will be a big name. And although I like Jamal Charlo, I root for those Charlo twins, I'm not sure Jamal Charlo's in the best space right now. And in addition to that, I'm not sure he'll turn the fight down. Because what's the chances of a Canelo fight coming back around for Jamal Charlo? And this would be perfect for Canelo because, some people say Canelo is about cherry picking and making sure that he has the advantage going into a fight. Hey, if that's the case, why not take on a damaged Jamal Charlo? You guys tracking with what I'm saying? To me, that is the fight to make for Canelo Alvarez. If he can't get Bivol, and supposedly if Benavidez and Morrell already have a contract to fight each other, right? That's my understanding. That's what I think it was Morrell's promoter or manager said. I think it's his manager. There's a contract. I don't know. It's Benavidez or Morrell one of their managers. He came out and said there's a contract in place already. You understand? So if there's a contract in place already, then that means Morrell and Benavidez are tied up. And that means Jamal Charlo is available. But more to come when it comes to that. But I do think that's the move to make. But we'll have to see. If you guys aren't aware, Jamal Charlo has had a lot of things going on in his personal life. And you can see, man, he's just in an emotional state. But he's trying to get back into the ring this year. But he just has a lot going on. But this fight may be what it takes to really motivate him and help him climb out of that emotional trough to lock in on boxing again and do his best to tune out what's going on in his personal life. And who knows, you may see Jamal Charlo getting it with Canelo and Jamal Charlo put up a valiant effort. You may see Jamal Charlo getting there and pull off the upset Because I'm going to tell you right now, Canelo, in my opinion, is just a step behind where he used to be. Okay? So now, that being said, when it comes to Tyson Fury, okay? Now, Tyson Fury is just totally in, excuse me, in the breeze. Tyson Fury is out here supposed to fight Usyk. Then Tyson Fury came out here and said he wasn't fighting to the end of the year. Then Tyson Fury came out here and said he's going to fight Andy Ruiz. Then he was going to fight Zhilei Zhang. And let me tell you something. As a result of Tyson Fury and Tyson Fury's antics, Tyson Fury is now saying he's not very optimistic of a fight with any of the names being floated in the media. Tyson Fury did a press conference by himself, I think it was yesterday. And I'm going to tell you what's going on. Tyson Fury knows his worth. Tyson Fury knows he's the A side. And he also knows if someone wants to fight him, especially fight him in the UK, those individuals looking to make that fight with him have no argument when it comes to the fight purse and what he's willing to give them. So what you saw happen with Andy Ruiz, Tyson Fury is going to give him a shot. He's going to give him basically a deal like what he gave Chisora. Give you a couple million, you take that, and we can fight. Tyson Fury, of course, will go make his 30, 40 million. Andy Ruiz wanted more money than what Tyson Fury is willing to give him. So although Tyson Fury is trying to throw him a bone, give him a chance to make a couple million and a shot at the WBC title, and although they have that relationship as brothers in Christ, right? Andy Ruiz kind of shot himself in the foot. So he wanted a little bit more money than what Tyson Fury wanted to give him. So now Tyson Fury and Zhang, they come out here and they start to negotiate a fight, firming things up. And then Joe Joyce activates his rematch clause, which totally derails the Fury-Zhang fight from taking place, which I think is a foul. Because I'd rather see Fury fight Zhang than Joe Joyce and Zhang fight again. But it is what it is. Fury is going through what Anthony Joshua went through when Deontay Wilder activated the rematch clause against Tyson Fury and ruined that fight between Fury and AJ. Joe Joyce is ruining the fight between Fury and Zhang. So it is what it is. But if we peel this back even further, you can go back and you can look at how Fury was in talks for an undisputed showdown with Usyk. Usyk had the WBA, IBF, IBO, and WBO belts, right? And they're supposed to be fighting in April at Wembley Stadium. But, the same issue that plagued those negotiations, same thing that plagued the Andy Ruiz negotiations. And sounds to me like Fury and Zhang were able to make some progress as far as the purse for the fight. But at the end of the day, Joe Joyce messed that all up. But financial terms, he just wasn't able to agree to when it came to Usyk. And now it looks like Usyk, he's heading towards that mandatory defense against Dubois. Fury's supposed to be lined up for a defense in July, but no opponent in place. And that's crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Ruiz comes to his senses and ends up taking a fight with Tyson Fury. Andy Ruiz needs a fight, man. Him more than any of the other top guys at heavyweight needs to get in there and he needs to have that fight. But Fury's saying right now, he's like, look, he's just laughing. He's like, he doesn't pay them any attention until he's in the ring with them because he doesn't know what direction they're going to go. But he's saying they have unrealistic financial demands. Now, I'll tell you this, over the last 14 months, Tyson Fury, his name has been attached to several fighters. But I personally think Fury kind of burned the bridge too. If you want to fight these guys and you're going to go on and make 30 million plus, right? I mean, come on, man. Pay those guys $5 million at least, you know. Still try to suck out their eyeballs and give them just $2 million or $3 million. I think that's crazy. Give them $10 million. Give them $8 million. But damn, it is what it is when it comes to Tyson Fury. But at the end of the day, it looks like Tyson Fury, he's fighting in July. It's going to be an opponent that's probably going to be what we feel is undeserving. Could see him fighting like a Jermaine Franklin type opponent. Maybe Luis Ortiz. Who knows? But Frank Warren is visibly frustrated when it comes to Tyson Fury. You know, he's tired. He figured the fight with Andrew Ruiz would be easy to make. And he just went out there and said, look, man, Andrew Ruiz wants a whole lot of money. And this is where you're going to see Andrew Ruiz making a mistake like Luis Ortiz made when he had the opportunity to fight AJ. But his team, instead of taking the $5 million, they wanted like 8 or 9 or 10 million, and they moved on to Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller. Then Miller, he messed that up. Then they went on over and ended up fighting Ruiz. But at the end of the day, man, when it comes to Tyson Fury, man, he's trying to get back in the swing of things. But, you know, I blame Fury for a lot of the stuff that's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? All of this money that he wants, not wanting to pay these guys. And they're deserving, man. Usyk is very deserving. To me, that should have been a 50-50 split. But, you know, what do I know? As a result, Fury is out here suffering what I would call, you know, a double blow when he's trying to plan his next fight, because now he lost Zhang, which is the first blow, and Andrew Ruiz, which is the second blow. And now he's already being ridiculed and criticized for his behavior. And trust me, if he gets in here with an underwhelming opponent, he is going to get raked across the coals. And that's a fact, man. Okay? But that being said, Frank Warren's got to figure everything out. They got to get back to the drawing board and sort things out and see what's available. But I personally think a lot of these fighters are getting tired of the crap going on with Tyson Fury, and he's just kind of just there in the breeze and without an opponent. Nobody's gonna want to get out there and fight for a couple million when he's making, you know, 30, 35. I mean, 90-10 splits are ridiculous, man. That's just not fair. But it is what it is. But speaking of something that's two very deserving fighters who looks to be finally getting back in the ring. Now you're talking about Virgil Ortiz and Amanda Stanionis. I didn't think that fight was ever going to happen. You know, I'm going to be honest with you, man. But it looks like, you know, Virgil Ortiz, who's unbeaten, he's going to be getting back in the ring, man. My understanding is July 8th. And he's supposed to be fighting Stanionis. But one thing I did not know, right? I did not know that Ortiz has continued to battle with COVID. I did not know that. I know he had a little episode and was dealing with COVID a couple of years ago. And it looked like he had gotten beyond that. But my understanding now is that it's the COVID just kept coming back again, on and off since 2020. And that to me is crazy that he's had to deal with that. But now he's saying, look, you know, I feel great. And he's saying it's COVID that took so much out of him. And he's saying some people are never the same after a vicious bout with COVID. In Ortiz's case, he struggled with it for 3 years. To that, I got to say, let's hold on. Now, for me, I had COVID. I don't know how many of you guys have had it, you know, but I've had COVID. And I'm going to tell you right now, I had bronchitis before too. And when it comes to that COVID, it was a different experience as far as the coughing, not being able to breathe. not being able to catch my, well, I'll say not being able to catch my breath because I was able to breathe. But when I would have those coughing stints, it was really tough getting air, you know? And I was like, man, something's not right. So I went and got tested. I had COVID. But let me tell you this. For someone to say he's been battling it since 2020 and it took so much out of him, he struggled for 3 years, I just don't, I just have a tough time buying that. I'm not a doctor, so I'll take what he says with a grain of salt. But I don't know if I'm willing to accept that right now, that he battled with COVID for three years. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not so sure about that. But anyway, Stan Eunice and Ortiz, their fight's been postponed twice, and I just got my fingers crossed, legs crossed the T, hot cross buns, wide the chicken cross the road, to make sure that this crap's not going to happen another time, man, because this inactivity is just not good for either one of them. Now, in addition to Virgil Ortiz and his problems, you know, Stan Eunice had his own issues as well, man. This man had an emergency appendectomy last January. Now, both of them probably needed to be in a wheelchair, sitting their ass somewhere in front of a big TV with a remote control in their hand, sipping tea and watching the goddamn Family Feud instead of getting in the ring, because all these medical complications are just not good. But at the same time, maybe it is good in a way because it makes the playing field a bit more level. But we're going to see which one of these guys can come out victorious. I'm telling y'all right now, this is a fight where it's going to be what Dillian White likes to say, maximum violence, right? This fight is going to be a fight full of maximum violence. Both of these guys come to bang. They come to scrap. They're cut from a different cloth. They're not going to quit. There's a lot of danger in this fight for both of them. And as a result of that, there are a lot of fighters in the division who would not fight these guys. But at the end of the day, both of these guys, whether they win or lose, they want to get a shot at more belts, more titles. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you this when it comes to Ortiz. I'm kind of favoring him a little bit, although I like Stan Eunice. Although I'm favoring him a little bit, because Ortiz has done very, very good, man. Well, in the last 3 years, although he says he's been battling COVID for the last 3 years, coming out there and beating Michael McKinson. He beat Samuel Vargas, Mean Machine, which was a fight that was very tough on Ortiz, but he was able to stop him, which is very impressive. And then, you know, fighting Maurice Hooker, where Maurice Hooker fought hard, but Virgil Ortiz was able to pull through. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Somebody is saying, well, you got to look at his opposition. Michael McKinson's not good. Samuel Vargas is not good. Kavaliauskas is not good. Hooker's not good. To that, I got to say, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Okay? Samuel Vargas, McKinson, you know, you want to say those guys are C-level fighters, whatever. But when it comes to Mean Machine, Kavaliauskas, man, come on, man. Y'all got to give that man some credit. Kavaliauskas fought Terrence Crawford. Gave Terrence Crawford all he can handle. Kavaliauskas is the real deal. He can crack. He can fight. But to just come out here now and to say that he's a C-level fighter, man, come on, man. Don't do that. Maurice Hooker was a champion. All right? Don't do that. All right? But I'm going to say the fact that he was able to get through those guys over those last couple of years, I tend to wonder about that COVID claim of struggling for 3 years with COVID. You just don't get in there and beat those kind of fighters knowing that you're struggling with symptoms of COVID. Like, you just don't do it. But the winner of Stan Eunice versus Ortiz, they'll be able to challenge Earl Spence, who's the WBA welterweight champion. That's if Earl Spence is still hanging around the division. You know what I'm saying? I personally don't think Earl Spence is going to be hanging around. He and Terrence Crawford, the WBO champion, they're going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting, all right? And I personally think, this is my opinion, right, that Crawford and Spence are going to be fighting this year and they're going to be fighting out in the Middle East. I think the fight's going to the desert. I've been saying that for a while now, and I'm going to keep saying it. That's what I believe. Flat fees, not wanting people involved, the fact that they're talking Espinoza, everybody's involved, they're on board. If they're fighting stateside, that's easy to make. The reason it's taking so long because they're just trying to trust and verify, check and balance, cross T's, and make sure everything passes the sanity check and everything's on the up and up to take that fight out there to the desert. I'm telling you, I really feel that's what they're looking to do. These guys want money. They want plenty of money. And the only place they can get it right now is out there in the Middle East. So that's what I think. But nonetheless, after Crawford and Spence fight, they become whoever becomes undisputed. I think they both, man, move up to 154. I'll be honest with you. If anyone stays, I see Crawford staying, but not Spence. Especially if Spence becomes undisputed. He's going to drop those belts and go on about his business. Now, we're going to sit here and see what happens on July 8th, but I'm telling you right now, I think this right here is a fight that people need to really pay attention to. And especially when it comes to Ortiz and how he had to postpone this fight twice for this rhabdomyolysis. Makes me wonder why they're talking so much about COVID symptoms over the last 3 years and not talking so much about this rhabdomyolysis. You know, that I think is a little bit odd. But he's supposed to be fully recovered from it. But I would think he'd be talking more about the rhabdo, etc. You know, there are some people who have come out, but this is a fact. Rhabdo can result from a lot of different things, overtraining, but it's also a side effect of steroids. Now, no one's come out and accused Virgil Ortiz of steroids, what Blair Cobb did, but then he apologized. But it's a fair conversation to have. What are some of the things that could have caused this? Well, overtraining and steroids. Okay, that's not saying that we think he's guilty of that. What we're saying is, when you go out there and do your research to better understand what causes rhabdomyolysis, the reality is it could be the result of using different steroids. Okay, so at the end of the day, good to see him back. I think Ortiz should pull it out, but because he's fought better opposition. But this whole thing about being sick, we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if any of the COVID symptoms or any of the rhabdomyolysis, the ill effects of the downsides of having that illness and just recently recovering from it. We'll see if any of that shows up in the ring. But that being said, more to come on Ortiz and Stanley Eunice, but I'm really rooting for both of them. But I kind of want to see Ortiz go on and make a little more noise. Okay? But now when we talk about this whole Haney and Lomachenko thing, right? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't understand why people aren't giving Lomachenko. Well, I'll put it to you this way. A lot of people aren't really giving Lomachenko a chance against Devin Haney. They weren't giving him really a chance. And you can kind of understand that when you look at how active Devin Haney has been and you look at how dominant he was against Kambosos. But I'm going to tell you this. Kambosos is not Lomachenko. And I think this fight is going to be very competitive. I was watching Lomachenko the other day when he was fighting Jermaine Ortiz, right? And I was just paying attention to the things he does. I was watching him fighting Comey, paying attention to the things he does. Man, Lomachenko gets very, very low. Lomachenko comes in close. Lomachenko bangs short shots with his hands once he's inside. He comes from the side, he comes straight, he comes over the top. He has great foot movement, man. Lomachenko, if he's in front of you, he's on the side of you, he's behind you. And Lomachenko, it doesn't look like it, but he has good power. And I think just his movement, his angles, I just think it's going to create some problems for Haney. Now, Haney will have Haney, in my opinion, Haney can win this fight if he just stays behind that jab. If Haney stays behind that jab, take his little half a step back, wins the foot fight because he is fighting a southpaw, I think Devin Haney wins the fight with his jab alone because Devin Haney has his jab is that good. But if Haney, for some reason, man, can't control Lomachenko with his jab, Haney's going to be in for a rough night. And he can't sit there and try to tie him up because Lomachenko, he will headbutt you. He will hit you with elbows. I was watching because Devin Haney said Lomachenko's a dirty fighter. So I said, let me sit here and watch and see what he does. Lomachenko, if you try to grab him, he's going to get out of there. It's like a fish with a hook in his mouth. And you see a fish will do anything to get that hook out of his mouth. Lomachenko will do anything to get out of that clinch. If he headbutts you, if he hits you with an elbow, it doesn't matter to him. You're not going to sit there and think you're just going to tie up Lomachenko and get away with it, all right? But we'll see what direction that goes. I'm not surprised that more people who really understand Lomachenko, what he brings to the table, Lomachenko and all of his accomplishments and his skill set. I can't blame anyone for now saying, you know what, hold on. This fight is way more competitive. And when they look at it, they look at Devin Haney, who's he faced? He hasn't faced anything close to Lomachenko. And when you look at that, you got to stop and say, all right, although Haney's younger, bigger, longer, more active, and maybe it's right that we make him the favorite, but it's not right that we sit here and think he's just going to come here and walk through Lomachenko. I'm telling y'all right now, I would not be surprised if this fight for Lomachenko ends up being a lot easier than what some people think. When I say easier, it doesn't mean he's not going to have to work for it. But what I'm saying it could be one-sided. And on the scorecards, I'm just telling y'all right now, pay attention. We talked about this before. Bob Arum saying it. People should put their money on Lomachenko. Don't bet on Devin Haney, bet on Lomachenko. That to me is crazy. So that lets you know already, when it comes to the scorecards, Devin Haney doesn't stand a chance unless he does like what Bivol did and beat Canelo, like he beat Canelo down so convincingly. You got to do like Usyk and just beat Joshua so convincingly. You got to do like Devin Haney, beat Kambosos so convincingly. Like you got to take it out the judge's hands. And I think Devin Haney's going to have to try to do that with Lomachenko, but nobody's done that before. So I'm just not sure if Devin Haney's going to be able to do that. Unless I really feel if he stays behind that educated jab, controls the distance, don't worry about the crowd, I think Devin Haney has a good chance of winning. But if not, if Lomachenko can figure out how to get behind that, get underneath that jab, out to the side of that jab, and get his shots off, it's going to be a very, very tough fight, a very competitive fight. Okay. Speaking of tough fights, there's always a possibility of seeing Haney go up to 140 sooner than later. And you know who he could meet there? He could meet Adrian Broner at 140 pounds. Now, Adrian Broner just did a recent press conference where he talked about wanting to become undisputed at 140 pounds. Now, I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, Adrian Broner becoming undisputed at 140 pounds, that's much easier said than done, okay? Now, Adrian Broner getting down to 140, fighting Ryan Garcia, I can see that happening. Fighting Teofimo Lopez, I can see that happening. Fighting Devin Haney, I can see that happening. Those are all interesting fights for Adrian Broner. Those guys are big names. There's been some history between those three names. But Adrian Broner going out here fighting Regis Prograis, Ramirez, Matias, I don't know. You know, I'm just not sure Adrian Broner getting down to 140 and fighting those guys. I'm just not sure how that goes. We know Josh Taylor's looking to bubble up to 147 and fight maybe fight Terrence Crawford. Okay? But for AB and him planning to stick around the sport of boxing, becoming undisputed at 140, for me, I say it sounds good. Now, some people took exception to what I had to say about Adrian Broner when I was saying that Adrian Broner has become toxic, right? There were a lot of people that took exception to what I had to say. And for that, I'm going to say I'm going to stick to my guns, man. Adrian Broner is a guy who I've always rooted for Adrian Broner. through those several years where he was having those ups and downs and people were saying things about him, I always rooted for him. But it just comes a point to where, my heart says, you know what, man, be there and support him. But my mind says, you know what, it's okay to do that, but do it from a distance. Because Adrian Broner has proven that when, I don't know, depending on the situation, he'll suck out your eyeballs. And he may feel bad about it later, but at the moment, Adrian Broner does and is going to do what he wants to do. Okay? So that's why I say Adrian Broner, his whole situation to me is toxic right now. I'm not saying it's going to be like that forever, but he has a lot to do with making those changes, making those corrections, getting himself on the straight and narrow. But as far as him coming out here and beating champions at 140 pounds, let's just take a look at it, all right? Josh Taylor or Teofimo, right? Either one can win the fight, but let's say Josh Taylor, Teofimo. You have Adrian Broner beating Josh Taylor? I don't. Adrian Broner beating Teofimo? I think he would. Okay? Adrian Broner and Subriel Matias? I don't think Adrian Broner beats him. At 140, I just don't think he'll beat Matias. Adrian Broner gets Regis Prograis. I don't think Adrian Broner beats Regis Prograis. And then Rolly Romero was fighting Barroso, and I think Rolly Romero beat him. Will Adrian Broner beat Rolly Romero? I don't know. It just depends on what Adrian Broner, what he decides to do, if he can let his hands go. We know he's strong. Floyd Mayweather, his longtime friend, I forgot the guy's name. It's the big heavyweight guy. But he says Adrian Broner is the strongest person he's ever met in his life. That Adrian Broner basically, threw away his career, saying Adrian Broner could have gone on to really be that special fighter. But I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, Adrian Broner needs to be smart and be strategic with the fights that he's taking. This fight against this unknown guy, it's a good fight to take coming back. He should tranquilize him. But after that, if he's to cut down to 140, he's going to have to show a type of discipline that I'm not sure Coach Cunningham can bring out of him. But if he can do it, and he comes down to 140, he got to be very careful on the opponent that he picks. Okay? He's got to be very careful. I would even say, for him, at 140, fight Sergey Lipinets. Lipinets can fight. 17-2. Lipinets lost to Boots, and he lost to, I think it's Mikey Garcia, right? But when it comes to that, Adrian Broner, that's a good fight for him. But to just Rolly Romero, I don't know. Broner's still going to want some money, but I'm not sure fighting a guy like Rolly at 140 is the biggest and best thing for Adrian Broner. But who knows? He may jump at it. We may see the Rolly and Adrian Broner fight at 140 if Broner can remain disciplined and get his weight down to 140 pounds for that moment in time weigh-in. All right? So that being said, when it comes to boxing, everything that's been going on this week, you got this week in you got KSI fighting, you got Salt Poppy, you got the whole YouTube, the whole Misfits thing on the zone going on. Very, very good fights, very, very good undercards. And I actually think what they have going on in the zone with this Misfits of boxing, I think it's going to overshadow Rolly Romero and Ismael Barroso's fight on Showtime. I really do. I really do, because those fights are very, very entertaining. But outside of that, with everything else going on in the sport of boxing, man, you got Inoue coming up with Fulton. I still got Inoue winning that fight. You got some good fights coming up, man. But heavyweights, you got some fights coming up. Welterweights, you got some fights coming up. Jermell Charlo, I don't know what to say about Jermell Charlo. This man's not returning to the ring till later. He's not fighting Tim Tszyu. I don't understand why Jermell is out the ring for so long. I know he had the hand issue. but just makes you wonder, you know what I'm saying? What the hell is going on with Jermell Charlo? You know, it's ridiculous. But Tim Tszyu fighting Ocampo. I think that's going to be a good fight for Tim Tszyu. I think he beats Ocampo without any problem. The problem I do have with it is Tim Tszyu is fighting Ocampo, right? And Ocampo is not even ranked under the WBO. That's crazy to me. And I look across the other sanctioning bodies. Ocampo is ranked number 8 for the WBC. And that's it. So Tim Tszyu has a WBO interim title, but he's sitting there fighting somebody who's ranked by the WBC. Number 8, he's not even ranked underneath the WBO. That's odd. That's odd to me that they did it that way. I figured they would have come down the WBO rankings and picked somebody for him. But at the end of the day, it is what it is when it comes to Tim Tszyu and Jermell Charlo. I'm starting to wonder more and more how long Jermell is going to hold on to those belts. You know, these guys have to get active. Then you got Munguia coming back fighting Derevyanchenko. They were chasing after Golovkin, weren't able to get the fight. Erislandy Lara is fighting Danny Garcia. That's going to be an interesting fight. Eubank Jr. is going to be fighting Liam Smith in the rematch. I think that's a horrible rematch for Eubank Jr., although he was winning the fight. I think it's bad medicine. You got Canelo, like we talked about in the beginning, coming off the fight with Ryder. Chance he may not be fighting Bivol. Chance he may leave from working with Eddie Hearn and DAZN. And there's a chance that Canelo Alvarez could be forced into a fight with someone other than Bivol. Benavidez and Morella fighting. You could see Canelo Alvarez trying to pick a cherry and catching a extremely emotional, depressed Jermall Charlo, fighting him at 168 and putting that name on his resume, especially if Jermall can't pull it all together. Then you got Bivol, who's in the breeze and just begging for a fight against Bertabiev. The WBC's blocking it. Now there's a chance Bivol may not fight Canelo because Bivol isn't a guy who's just chasing money. He wants legacy. I'm not sure who Bivol would fight if it's not Canelo because Bertabiev is fighting Liam Smith. I'm just not sure what Bivol is going to do. But I can't see him wanting to fight Buatsi, Yarde, Aziz, any of those guys. He already beat Ramirez, so Bivol's in a bad position. And what sucks is Bivol is a WBA champion, and he can't get a fight. That's crazy. Bubble up to the cruiserweights. I mean, the only one here who seems to be in a good position is Badu Jack. He signed a skills challenge promotion. Amir Abdallah, Prince Khalid, Saudi Arabia, and he's in a good position with that WBC strap. And Badu Jack, as long as he signed to those guys, he's going to fight and make good money. He just has to keep winning. Then you come up here with the heavyweights. You got Usyk, supposed to be fighting Dubois. Fury fighting in July, no opponent. Wilder and Joshua fighting end of this year. Chance both of those guys could have interim bouts. Just not sure who they're going to be fighting. Zhilei Zhang was trying to fight Fury, but Joe Joyce activated his rematch clause. Now Zhang and Joyce are going to be fighting at some point. Ruiz Jr. could have fought Tyson Fury, but Ruiz Jr. had substantial financial demands, which he stepped on his own foot. He should have taken the fight for $3 million, in my opinion. That way he gets that money in his pocket, and there's no shame in losing against Tyson Fury. Dillian White's supposed to be fighting some guy. I think his last name is Allen. He's supposed to be fighting somebody, man, the next couple of months. We'll see how that goes. Luis Ortiz, absolutely no activity on his career. That sucks. Parker's still out there in the mix fighting. Hrgovic's in a holding pattern, waiting to see what happens next. So that being said, man, it's the Hood Champion Power Hour. We've been on here just about an hour. We talked about Devin Haney. We talked about Lomachenko. We talked about Broner. We talked about the Charlo twins and how those guys, I just don't think they're going to have their straps. In another 12 months, I don't think they're going to have any of those belts if they don't get in that ring and get active, man. especially Jamel. Jamal, we know he has things going on, but I'm just not understanding Jamel and not getting back in the ring to the end of the year, and makes me wonder, man, how bad these guys really want it. But I feel for Jamal. He's going through some real stuff, and they're twins. Maybe what Jamal is going through is affecting Jamel. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. But that being said, man, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I appreciate the support as always, and I'm in the breeze.